few years ago, over in Iran, a woman there filed for a divorce from her husband. But what were the grounds for that divorce? No, it wasn't that the husband had been unfaithful. No, it wasn't that the man was violent or abusive. No, the woman explained that the reason she was asking for that divorce was because her husband stunk. The woman explained to the court that for some reason her husband didn't like water and he refused to bathe, and that more than a year had gone by and he had not even so much as washed his face. Do you smell? Or let me put that another way, what do you smell? In doing some research this past week, I was reminded of the fact that while our noses take in all kinds of scents and aromas and odors, it's actually our brains that process that information and give us our sense of smell. In other words, when we smell something, it's not our noses that tell us if something has a pleasing or offensive odor to us. It's our brains that do that. After all, if I ask you to sit here right now and imagine yourself in a donut shop or a bakery, can you smell it? If you're like most people, you can. Or if I ask you to imagine a freshly cut lawn, can you smell the grass? Can you smell the gasoline from the lawnmower? Quite likely, you can. And the reason I'm asking us to think about smelling here today is because the sense of smell plays a major role here in this section of the Gospel of John. For instance, here in this story that we just heard, a woman named Mary, not Jesus' mother, but another woman named Mary, went up to Jesus while he was at a dinner in the town of Bethany. And because of her love and devotion to Jesus, she took a jar of very expensive perfume and poured that perfume on to Jesus' feet. And the gospel says that the house was filled with the fragrance of that perfume. But why does the gospel writer make the effort to tell us about the smell of what Mary did? It's because smell also played a role in the story right before this one in John. In the 11th chapter of the Gospel of John, Jesus' good friend Lazarus suddenly dies and is buried in a cave-like tomb. And when Jesus finally arrives at Lazarus' home 4 days later, he's met by Lazarus' sisters, Martha and Mary, the same Mary who then poured that perfume onto Jesus. And so when Jesus got to the tomb where Lazarus had been buried, he told the people there to roll away the stone from the entrance. But right away, Lazarus' sisters blurt out, "Lord, already there is a stench, because he has been dead 4 days." Or the old King James version of the Bible put it more succinctly. It translated that verse by having the women cry out, "Lord, he stinketh." But when Jesus insists that the people do what he told them to do, they roll away the stone, and in a loud voice, Jesus calls out, "Lazarus, come out." And immediately the dead man emerged from the grave alive. Mary was someone who knew firsthand that there are some things in this world that do stink. Sickness stinks. Death stinks. Evil stinks. Along that line, it's interesting to note that in the New Testament, whenever the Greek word is translated into English as hell, most of the time that original Greek word is the word Gehenna. But Gehenna actually referred to a valley just south of Jerusalem where they took the city's garbage and burned it. And so by using that smoldering garbage landfill as a metaphor for what hell is like, I believe that the gospel writers were trying to convey the idea that hell, the realm of evil, is not only a hot place, but it's also a place that smells. And so when Mary took that perfume and out of love poured it onto Jesus' feet, and that fragrance filled the whole house that they were in, I believe that Mary did that because she got what Jesus is about. That Jesus isn't just about condemning and denouncing what stinks in this world. Anyone can do that. Just condemning and denouncing what stinks in this world by itself doesn't really accomplish anything. No, as followers of Jesus, we are called to something more than that. In the Apostle Paul's second letter to the Corinthians, he puts it this way. He says that we are to be the aroma of Christ to the world. I believe that means that beyond just condemning and denouncing what stinks in the world, that through our lives we are to overcome that stench of sin and evil through the aroma of the love and caring that we are willing to show. Are we ready to do that? One evening, a teenage boy and girl went out on a date together. They went out for dinner and to a movie, and they were having a very good time together. But as the evening started to get late and the date was coming to an end, the boy walked the girl back home, and as they were standing on the front porch, the boy took the girl's hand and looked her in the eye and said, "Can I kiss you?" But the girl just stood there, smiling, not saying a word. Oh, the boy thought to himself, I know what's wrong. I didn't use the proper grammar. I shouldn't have said, "Can I kiss you?" I should have said, "May I kiss you?" So again, the boy looked the girl in the eye, and this time with very correct grammar asked, "May I kiss you?" But once more, the girl just stood there, smiling and not saying a word. Well, as you might imagine, the boy got rather confused and frustrated, and eventually he blurted out, "What's the matter? Are you deaf?" The girl looked at him and said, "Well, what's the matter?"